Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today's honored guest is Scharrell Jackson, zooming in from Lake Forest. Scharrell is a powerhouse international keynote speaker, global executive coach, and celebrated author who equips leaders at every level with her proprietary endgame excellence methodology, guiding them to make bold, outcome-driven decisions, sustain high performance, and navigate leadership complexities with precision. Renowned for her electrifying speaking style, she transforms audiences with her signature keynote, High Performance Leadership, the Power of Decision, delivering the clarity, confidence, and strategic mastery necessary to break barriers, elevate impact, and execute with decisive excellence. Welcome, Scharrell.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Danny.
Yes. So tell us a little bit of what you do and the objective and how you got there.
Oh, absolutely. So, I'll start with a little bit. You can insert whatever question that you have for me. But
Mhm.
as you mentioned, I am now a global keynote speaker, executive leadership coach, and a celebrated author, and it is a blessing. I've been on the entrepreneurial journey, as you and I started to talk before the recording, for a little over 3 years now. And prior to
Mhm.
that, I was a corporate executive as a chief operating and finance officer in corporate America, leading organizations from fintech and professional services to manufacturing, distribution, and real estate and construction, and a
Mhm.
myriad for 35 years. So I shifted from corporate America into entrepreneurship because I wanted to take not only my God-given talents and my acquired skills, gifts, and accomplishments to really support other leaders that perhaps might not be able to afford a 6 or 7 figure C-level executive, but are ambitious enough to elevate to a higher level with the right partnership walking
Mhm.
alongside of them. And so I've taken what I have coined as in-game excellence, and I coach individuals, whether I'm standing on stages throughout this world or whether I'm doing a one-on-one coaching journey on Zoom or in person, to really
Mhm.
walk individuals through understanding what their end game is. What is the life you want to live, the experience you want to
Mhm.
have, the legacy you want to leave, the story you want others to tell, and how is it aligned with every decision you make in your life, personally, professionally, and in the community. And if you can operate with decisive excellence, there's no limit to how you can go. So it's a beautiful journey, and I love it. And I'm glad to be here.
Wow, that's impressive and amazing. So two questions. One, how difficult and how scary was it to make the jump from a W-2 employee to being an entrepreneur, starting like from ground zero, right?
Right, right. So, it's interesting, and that's a complex question because you talked about how difficult and how scary. So, what I will say is that what makes it difficult is the fear. Because the reality of it is, I was already equipped to operate at a level of excellence because of my background running companies, having clarity around what it takes to build successful organizations, and more importantly, to develop leaders to move
Mhm.
beyond where they ever expected to go. But the reason why it felt difficult was the fear.
Right, right.
Oftentimes, you can be exceptionally qualified to
Mhm.
do that which you desire that might be a hope or a dream. But what often stops individuals from catapulting into the highest version of themselves or paralyzes them from moving at the pace in which they need to is the fear. And while the fear was there, I literally have a lifestyle that I work under, which is allowing fear to have a voice and not a vote. And so it was exceptionally scary, like most transitional moves, because I was stepping into a space that was unknown, not consulting being unknown, but solely relying on me to create and provide the life that I want to live and long-term sustainability.
Right.
So it was definitely scary because it was unknown and I
Yeah.
had never done it before. But I
Wow.
knew that I was qualified, but I was petrified as well, Danny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can imagine from having something that's stable, secure, and consistent to
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden like getting thrown out into the ocean and you either sink or swim, right? You just got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no turning back. Now, my second question that I wanted to ask is how did it feel to be able to help somebody transform themselves, the results that they haven't been getting to the results that they are getting now by really digging in and finding out that why or that direction so that they can become successful and keep pushing forward.
For me, there is really no words to describe the overwhelming joy that I have to be living and leading in purpose. Like I have clarity on what my purpose in life is. And while I have used different mechanisms, opportunities, jobs, relationships in order to accomplish that, it wasn't with the clarity or the end game clarity on really what I'm here for. And now
Mm-hmm.
that I have the clarity that my life was created to leave a lasting positive impact in an abundant way that yields a high level of elevation for anyone who I encounter, and to
Mm-hmm.
be able to walk alongside people and see that transformation take place. The level of joy that I experience in spite of the obstacles that I encounter, it
Mm-hmm.
is indescribable. Like it is the most beautiful experience of a lifetime. In fact, one of my clients, after our second session of him
Mm-hmm.
jumping on screen with me, walking through some issues that just happened to pop up that first day of our session, and then walking through some opportunities to mitigate and solve and elevate as a result of what he shared with me, he calls me
Mm-hmm.
the Oracle. And I didn't even know what that meant. So I had to go ask my
Oh
kids.
yeah, it's
And they
amazing.
ended up telling me. So all I can tell you is that it's breathtaking. It's
Right.
hard. It's hard, but it's breathtaking.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And naturally, as entrepreneurs, we want to do something that we love to do, which is
Mhm.
not work, right? If we're whether it's helping somebody or whatever profession or discipline we choose, it's being able to make those changes that this is just so fulfilling and gratifying,
Mhm.
right? Now, what do you think comes easy for you that others might have difficulty in doing what you do?
So I don't want to misrepresent the entrepreneurial journey as easy, because the life that I live is not easy. If people follow me on social media, you know it is not easy,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm very transparent. But I think that what appears to be easy to others when they watch me operate in this level of excellence, not perfection, but in
Mm-hmm.
direct alignment with how I was built and born to live, is that I make the decision every single day. And the strategy of execution is not easy, but the lifestyle to make the decision is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the people look at the result, and they look at me being on a podcast or on a stage or operating in a group or teaching a class. And it appears because of style or ability to effectively communicate that, wow, this comes easy to you. But it doesn't. I'm scared all the time. I've just learned how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but every day I
Mm-hmm.
have to make a decision. And that is what positions me to go out and do the work. So I think the thing that seems easy is a lot of people won't make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
They have a
Mm-hmm.
dream and they hope, but they fail to decide.
Right, you got to take action,
You got to take action.
massive action,
Right.
right, to
First, you
make
got to
it.
decide.
Yeah, yeah, but it's scary. I mean, it's scary I think it's scary for everybody, like you alluded to, it's scary every day because you have to keep making that decision over and over again that this is what you want to do, because now you don't have to go in and clock in at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning, and nobody's going to tell you what you have to do. And you just do that and you're good. Like, you have to get up, you have to tell yourself what you have to do, you have to pursue your clients, you have to bring value and on a daily basis, or else it doesn't work.
Exactly. And the bottom line is you've got to get clear on not just what you want to do. So often we chase these goals and transactions as opposed to a lifetime experience. And so I have an end game that I live for, and it's non-compromisable. So I live a life to create impact, abundance, to live low stress, to have joy, peace, and good health. And so it's every single pillar of my end game is non-negotiable. I'm not going to compromise abundance for stress. I'm not going to choose impact for bad health, right? I'm not giving up my peace for opportunity. I'm just not. So I think that once we get to a space where we have clarity, which is the most difficult part for people to elevate, is because they focus on the goal. I want to get married. I want to make more money. I want to become an entrepreneur. I want a new job. I want to get a divorce, whatever it is. We have these transactions, but we don't have clarity on how we want to live our overall life in congruence, regardless of good and bad, regardless of easy or hard, regardless of obstacles or not. And the clarity is what's critical for us to achieve.
So that's super important to know. Now, if somebody's listening to us and then they don't necessarily have to be an entrepreneur, maybe they're an athlete, or maybe, they're just different things that they're doing, maybe a physician. How do they go about trying to discover this? And what steps should they take to find that clarity in what they should be doing in life?
Well, it's certainly more than a notion of what I can explain in a podcast, because, the coaching journey is that it's a journey. But what I would say is that first, you have to establish what's your end game. And when I talk about end game excellence, it's your non-negotiables, not your transactions and goals, as I said. So when you're also looking at your end game, it's not just what it is right now. I was just talking to a client and I said, well, what's your end game? Well, I want to be a provider. I want my child to never have to go without, to make sure that every single need that they have is met. So I said, so what happens when they're 25? Do you not want them to be independent? Do you not want them to be able to make decisions? Then right away, it was like light bulb moment. Well, that's not really an end game. So when you're looking at end game, it is a fundamental life principle on which you live, which is non-compromisable. So one of the ways you can get there is back into what's keeping you up at night. What are your things that you want to eliminate from how you're living? Maybe you want to be a helper and a pleaser, but you're compromising your own self-worth. You're living with regret. Well, do you really want to be a helper or a pleaser? So it's evaluating not just how you want to be perceived by others in terms of your legacy or your brand, but how do you also want to experience your life? Because you matter too. It's full transparency, and it takes some work to get clear. Right. That would be one of the first things that I would say, is to sit with yourself and start to noodle that down, write it down on not only, how you want to experience your life, but what do you want to eliminate? And that'll help you get to at least a starting point of deriving your end game. And if not, you can always reach out to me on ScharrellJackson.com, because I'm here to help.
Right. There you go. Talk to Scharrell. She'll help you out. So tell us, so what has been like one of your biggest challenges that you've had to overcome in your career? Just so that, and the reason I ask it is just so that if anybody's listening, so that they know this isn't an easy path. I mean, life isn't an easy path for any of us, right? But you've had challenges. We've all had challenges. How have you overcome your challenges, and what's been like the most difficult?
Okay, so I guess the first thing I'll say is thank you for the segmentation into the reality that leadership is hard. It's hard as a single mom, which I was. It's hard as a corporate executive, which I was. It's hard as a female working in a male dominated environment, which I was. It was hard as a Black person working in an environment where primarily most of the people were non-Black or white. So there's a lot of difficulty in the leadership journey. And while each situation might uniquely be different, the hardest thing was for me to recognize two things. One, that I was enough and I was willing to do the work. And two, to focus in on what I now call in-game excellence, which is why I developed that coaching strategy versus the situation that I'm in. And I'll just say very quickly, I ran track. I talk about this a lot when I speak. 100, 200, 440 relay. And in those races, you typically were just looking at the competition and you run straight away. But then they asked me to run the hurdles. And when you run the hurdles, you're literally putting obstacles in the place of the runner. And you have to master getting over obstacles. I think the most difficult thing for me, but what I think I accomplished in order to deal with those difficulties, is to know that there's always going to be hurdles. And instead of focusing on the hurdle, the obstacle, or one of the situations, the noise, I got close to focusing and learning how to look at the finish line, end game. And once I learned how to focus on the finish line, I shifted my vision, my mindset to a space where all I looked at was winning. And so in looking at that win, which means I just want my kids to feel loved. Doesn't mean they're not going to get a no. I want my team to grow. Doesn't mean I might not be ushering somebody out through a termination and introducing them to their next opportunity.
Right.
I want my clients to elevate. Doesn't mean I'm always going to be their coach. So the key was for me to understand that I got to focus on the win, because the hard part was the obstacles, not being invited to the party, for lack of a better word. But I want to create impact. Being a single mom and not always being able to do some of the things that some of the other moms could be. Mm-hmm. Maybe being disregarded in a meeting because I wasn't welcome and maybe people didn't really want me there. Mm-hmm. And my own personal feeling of insecurity and fear. There was a myriad of obstacles and things that I faced throughout my journey, but I had to learn how to work through them because they're never going away. There's always going to be new obstacles.
That's life, right? Life for all of us.
It's life.
There's storms, but on the other side of the storm are the rainbows and the sunshine, right? Nothing lasts forever.
And if it isn't, there's a life lesson.
That's it.
Maybe there isn't sunshine. Maybe there isn't rain, but that's okay. The key is to know it's temporary.
Yeah.
Right? That circumstances is temporary because the outcome is going to be whatever you want your outcome to be. It just might not be easy to get there.
Right. Just like one bad chapter doesn't make it a bad book. You get to start all over again at the end of that chapter. Write the next chapter.
Exactly.
Right. So it looks like you've done really well, and you're happy with what you're doing. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
There's business owners and entrepreneurs also look forward to the future and how to stabilize income. And at the end, maybe potentially retiring as well. And so they look for potentially additional passive investments that they can make, or ways that they can set themselves up with additional streams of income. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you think people should do?
Well, the reality of it is I'm an executive coach and I'm a business person. So most of my clients are coming to me because they're either having revenue issues. They want a higher level of net income. They're looking to get a greater valuation of their organization, improve company culture, create retention, optimize processes and procedures. That's my background. But what I'm looking at with my clients is holistically, first of all, how we're going to get there in terms of evaluating our strategy of execution, building our bench, identifying whether or not the talent on the team are A players. And if not, do we have a strategy to get there? Evaluating our customers and ensuring that we have opportunities to penetrate new marketplaces at any time, regardless of the economic downturn. And then ensuring that we have economy to scale, as well as an optimized and efficient process or system. So the key is I'm right now I'm teaching an entrepreneurial mindset course for an organization that I'm in partnership with, and it's a 12-week course. I would also say to entrepreneurs specifically that gain the business acumens and close the gap that you may have as a business leader versus a technical expertise in the field in which you might be selling a product or a service. Many leaders don't possess the business acumen to elevate their business from a hobby to a successful business. And then for CEOs and corporate executives that are driving a business, it's ensuring that you have the bench strength, but you have the leadership style and cadence to pivot, not just systematically because of AI or technological innovation, but meeting the multi-generations where they are so that you have a sustainable bench, not just to get to the Super Bowl, but to take home the ring. And so there's a myriad of things that we have to do, way too much for, of course, a podcast, but our ability to evaluate our overall business, people, processes, customers, culture, and our systems, and then being able to pivot and then tying it to the outcome. And I don't believe the outcome is top line revenue. It's net income because cash is king and company valuation. And so if you're driving a successful company, you're not just making money today, you're building an organization to sustain your life and perhaps pass the generations or to sell so that you can live the life you want to live. And again, what's the life you want to live? That's your end game.
Right. That should and plan for that, right? Move in that direction and make it happen, basically.
Exactly.
Right?
And don't create a budget based on your bills. Create a budget based on the life you want to live until you go to the grave.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it. That's a great way to look at it, right? Because it's above and beyond just your bills, because it's a lifestyle that you want.
Exactly. And you might want to your family.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's different for everybody. The end game is different for everybody. So I guess the path would also be different for everybody as well. So as we get ready to wrap up our interview, we're already 3 months into 2025. What is do you have any exciting plans from here to the end of the year, the next 6 to 9 months?
Well, personally, I have some pretty exciting things. On a personal side, I was nominated for the Women World Changing Award, Woman of Impact. So I didn't say it right. So it's the World Women Changing the World Award Impact. So that's a global award. And I think it was 741 nominees, and I'm a finalist. So I'm heading to London.
Congratulations on that. That's awesome.
That's a big deal. I was also invited to participate in the Hear Us Roar series of books that's going to become an Apple TV docu series out at the end of the year. So I'm excited because sometimes people have to pay to play, and I got invited. So that's huge for me. It's an amazing journey, and I'm going to be part of the 2 of the books out of the series, out of an 8-book series. And really, it's just about doing exactly what I'm doing, using my voice to make change. And even if it's on a podcast where perhaps one life could change, because if I could change one life and they can change one, then lives are changed throughout the world. So it's just enjoying the latter years and spending time with family and friends and just living a life that pleases God ultimately.
Right. And it's making that change one at a time.
One at a time.
If we can reach one person and make a change or give them the answer that makes that change, then that's super gratifying.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You're doing it on this podcast, so this is awesome, right?
Right. I mean, we all try different things and do our part, right? Our part that we enjoy doing. And here we had you as a guest, and it's been so insightful. And listening to everything that you're doing and the changes that you're making and the changes that you made for yourself. That's impressive to be able to go from a W-2 to an entrepreneur and be able to live a fulfilling life at the same time, right? So, Scharrell, as we wind down, thanks so much for all the tips and insight you've given us. And if somebody's listening to us and wants to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
So for those of you who are on LinkedIn, you can reach me by my name, Scharrell Jackson. If you're on TikTok, you can find me on there as well. But on Instagram and Facebook, it's at leadership.inn.heals. So it's Leadership in Heals. That's my Instagram and Facebook name. Or you can go onto my website, scharrelljackson.com, and schedule some time. Because if there's anything that I can do to elevate an individual, to create a positive impact in your life, or just walk alongside you to help you gain clarity on how you want to live and experience your life and align it with the legacy you want to leave and the story you want others to tell, feel free to reach out to me on my website.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Scharrell. And to our listeners, please go to ocpowerplayers.com. Follow us on your favorite channel. And don't forget to like us. Thank you, Scharrell.
Thank you so much, Danny.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.